If anybody happened to bring a fly swatter with them, we're looking for those, so go ahead and bring them to the front. Before we get into our next panel, I was just wondering, how many of you have been to a Disrupt before? Just a quick show of hands. Okay, we'll work on retention. Before we get into our next panel, I'm going to actually throw to a CrunchBase video, so please sit back and enjoy. Okay, big data around funding has never been that sexy. Please welcome to the stage Jager McConnell from CrunchBase and our moderator, Jon Shieber.
We switched seats. Hi. Thank y'all for showing up. I'm Jon Shieber. I'm talking to Jager McConnell. Just a few housekeeping notes before I get into the meat of the interview. I have one of these handy little smartphones in my back pocket, and on that phone I have the Twitter. If y'all want to ask questions to Jager about what we're talking about or what y'all just saw, you can tweet at me at my Twitter handle, which is my first initial J and my last name, which is right up there. Shieber, S-H-I-E-B-E-R, and I will pose your question to Jager, should you want me to. First of all, congratulations on the new product.
Thanks a lot. Really
That's
excited.
nice. Yeah, and apparently you got 3 customers before even announcing.
We launched it about 3 minutes ago, and someone has already, or 3 people have come on and actually purchased licenses. So we're excited about that people have it's already resounding and getting people excited about what we're doing here.
Fantastic. I'm getting adjusted.
That's good. That's good.
It's fancy, on the fly. So this is the first monetization of the CrunchBase product, and it's been around for a long time.
Almost 9 years.
Why now?
So we spun out a year ago at the last Disrupt. So that was the start of this change of us becoming an independent company. That means a business model. And we realized that with 25 million users, let's listen to them, let's see what they want. And CrunchBase Pro is the culmination of all of that effort.
In that time, y'all were initially sort of the first to market with this low-end version of a data set covering venture capital, tracking new startup companies. In the interim, you've got Mattermark, you've got CB Insight, you've got Owler, and like 100 other companies that have launched around this thesis of doing sort of data and analysis. Would you have done anything differently? Like, do you feel like you've lost a competitive advantage by letting these guys take market share?
I don't think so. I mean, we still have, I believe, by far more users than any of them, right? So we have about 1 million active users a week. That alone lets us have, the reason that people come to us is because our data is exceptional. And that people expect to see it. We don't put paywalls up in front of the data itself. So we've democratized that data set and allowed anyone who's interested to go and get access to it. And now we've given tools on top of that, which lets you analyze that data and sort of extract the value that you're looking for from that data set.
Well, so you have a number of users, but you have right now 3 customers, right?
As of 5 minutes ago. I haven't
5
checked it right
minutes ago.
now. We can check. It's
Right,
right.
and I'm saying from like a customer acquisition standpoint, these guys have some paying customers. They are a little bit ahead.
Sure, so we just launched our application. We do have other revenue streams. We have a licensing business, for instance, where we have almost 100 customers who are paying for deep access of our APIs. And we also, of course, have advertising as well. So this is our next foray into a new revenue stream.
So would you, if you had been the CEO years ago when CrunchBase was developing, would you have done anything differently? Or?
I don't think so. You know, the cool thing about what we've done is we've built up all these users, all this data, all this, frankly, this SEO. So when you search for a company, we're one of the first things that you see when you search for an emerging company. That's very hard to do when you're focusing on revenue and trying to build applications. That becomes the thing you need to pay the most attention to. I think this is the right focus. We have the right focus for now.
Now, I've seen, I see a lot of other names of companies that are doing this data stuff get referenced in the press, right?
Sure.
So if I look at clips about CrunchBase and the ways that CrunchBase is used just by journalists, it's pretty minimal compared to sort of CB Insights or some of the others that I think hit a lot more regularly. Is that something that you think is going to change with this new product set?
Yeah.
Are you looking to open it up more to, will it be more accessible? Are you looking to partner with other companies to get that data out there in circulation a bit more widely?
Yeah, one of the coolest features about CrunchBase Pro is that you can make any sort of search or any sort of list and have it be very complicated, and that's great. But you also go and take it and share it. And it's not just share it with other users of CrunchBase Pro. You can actually go and make a search and say, let's say it's drone companies that are emerging that are really cool. You can go and take that same search and go and post it right onto Twitter, and people can go and access it, see the results, and see what query you used. The thought is that journalists, as an example, might decide to go and make those searches and make those lists and then put that along with our article. Like, here's the data that proves what I was just talking about. We're certainly going to use that at CrunchBase, and we think that other people will use that as well.
I mean, I played around with it a little bit, and I saw some of the features. You have a couple of preset searches that are pretty cool. Pitch me a little bit. When you look at the feature set, what are you most proud of in this new version of the book?
Yeah, I mean, we completely re-architected CrunchBase to support this. I think once you start playing with it and trying it out, you're going to see that it's extremely fast. So when you're doing these queries, things that you'd expect to take many seconds are almost instantaneous. So speed is super exciting for us. Another feature is the ability to do relationship searches. So a lot of our competitors will let you just look at the top layer. Show me all the companies in a certain area or maybe with a certain amount of funding. That's all top level questions. We let you go and navigate the entire graph. So you can ask ridiculous questions. So you can ask up to 9 joins if we want to nerd out for a second, 9 joins and 25 different filters. What that lets you do is ask questions like, show me all of the companies that have women founders who used to work at Salesforce, who went to Stanford, and ask this ridiculous question and get answers back in seconds. And we're really excited about that.
How many of y'all use CrunchBase? Anyone? Raise your hands.
Looks like
oh wow. All right.
That's
All right. So y'all are engaged. Y'all want to know. Y'all are excited about this stuff. And yet my Twitter, sadly empty. Come on, guys.
Aw.
Come on, guys. Y'all must have
They're all
something.
just trying it out.
They're buying it
busy,
right
that's
now.
right.
They're coming on and buying it. Well, so one of the problems that I had with the data set is that it was, when I first played around with it, consistently when I played around with it, really dirty, like really dirty, fuzzy data. What are you doing to clean that up, and what sort of confidence should people have in the searches that they're getting now? Should people think about it as just sort of a picture in aggregate of what could happen, or is it?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So the last year we've completely changed how we do data and how we get data into CrunchBase. Way back, it used to be very community-driven. Just community was going and putting in the data. There was very little checks and balances to see if the data was any good. But as of a year ago, we have a new strategy, and that strategy is we have 4 pillars of what is a good data set. The first one is community. Certainly, we have 300,000 contributors going and adding in data into CrunchBase. It's usually the entrepreneurs themselves going and putting their own data set in. We have an amazing partner network. We have 2,700 VCs that go and send us their portfolio data. And that's the stuff that it's hard for anyone to replicate, right? That takes 8 years, 9 years to go and do, is form all those partnerships. So we get this primary stream of data directly from VCs, which becomes a check and balance already between the community and what the VCs are saying.
Right.
The third of the four is automation, machine learning, AI, crawling, all of that, to sort of figure out what is happening in the ecosystem that might or should be in CrunchBase.
Right.
And we go and check and see if it makes sense to have that be in there.
Right.
The people doing that checking and the systems that are doing that are our research team. So we have a vast research team, probably much larger than most people expect. Looking and double checking and seeing what data should or should not go in. The algorithms say this looks spammy, this looks suspicious, and the way we do that is pretty complicated. That research team double checks, and really all of it becomes a checks and balance with each other. If something is wrong, someone might go and say, that's not right, and I'll just go and change it, because this is their representation of how they look to investors.
Right.
So you want it to look right, and you want it to look good, and if you start fudging things and start lying, investors are going to figure that out, and then you lose all credibility.
You know, I don't want to be a killjoy, but I noticed a couple of companies that are in CrunchBase that I might not have expected to see, like Aviato and Pied Piper.
Sure, there's a few jokes in there.
So there, you know.
Let's call those Easter eggs. I mean, there certainly is some fun data in there that and frankly, that a lot of hits come through and check that out, which is cool.
By the way, they're both very cool companies. I think they're
very good.
super amazing. Well, so what have you done to clean up the data set? Walk through that a little bit, because I think when you look at working with data and you want to set these things up, I know it's a low-cost product. What, it's $29?
Yep.
You want to have a sense of accuracy. So how is that working?
I mean, when we knew we were building CrunchBase Pro, we knew it would also allow people to analyze our data set en masse, right? So we had to make it look good. So we really, I mean, a large part of our funding went towards making sure that the data looks good.
Right.
We have spent a decent amount of cash on that process. We've done something like 8 million edits on all of our data over the last year. 1/3 of that came from the community, 1/3 of that came from the automation, and 1/3 of it came from our own research team. So if you add up all those edits across this data set, you can tell we've been doing a lot of work.
Yeah. No, for sure. And it shows. It shows. It's a much nicer looking product than the one that I was forced to work with years ago.
Good.
Not that I'm bitter. I'm not bitter. I'm totally happy with it. But one of the things that people really liked about CrunchBase was that it was so open, right? And that the data sets were all available, and the API, there were more there's more of an ability for people to build on top of the data. And that seems to have gone away. Are you worried at all about this move from like free to freemium and what that may mean for the user base?
Yeah, so thank you for the opportunity to respond to that. So we still, like, there's a rumor on the internet saying that we don't have free APIs. We absolutely do have free APIs. We have 10,000 companies and developers all over the world using our APIs, about 1 billion API calls in a year. So the short answer is yes, the data is still available. Not all of it. So some of the premium data we go and put behind a paywall, and that is sort of part of doing the business here. On the functionality side, crunchbase.com, the free stuff that you've had and how you've used Crunchbase, all of that is exactly the same.
Okay.
So that was one of the original starting points of what is Crunchbase Pro? Well, what it can't be is taking Crunchbase and putting paywalls in front of it.
Right.
So let's go and build something supplemental, add features on top of Crunchbase, and charge for those. And by the way, we also give some of those features that we've built in Crunchbase Pro, we give them away for free. So anyone without a trial, without a credit card, you just can go on crunchbase.com on the left side, click at any of them and try out a search. And we let you do your first filter and up to 1 join deep. So how many companies have female founders in Crunchbase? You can do that search and we'll see the answer.
I mean, well, I'm super lazy. I'm a reporter, right? So obviously I'm shiftless. But one of the things that you're describing is a functionality that still seems to me to be a little awkward. Like, I remember at another company that I used to work at previously, I had access to a database set. and those queries were a little bit smoother. Is there a way to refine that process? Is that something that y'all want to do? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is our MVP, right? So we're launching the product, we're going to listen to what our users say, iterate. We're in a world where we can iterate on weekly releases now. Yeah. We've been in stealth mode for the last year, so like, what has CrunchBase done lately? It looks like nothing, but now we've launched this product, and now that it's out there, we can really release new features, make changes, and streamline it pretty quickly. What we have right now is a tool that is very, very powerful. You certainly need to sort of play around with it and sort of learn how it works. But once you've done that, we think you're going to be pretty happy with what the sort of questions and answers that you can get out of CrunchBase.
Well, so I've been beating you up a little bit about my problems that I have with the product, but what do you see as some of the things that need to get done to improve, to make it better?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now we challenge our users to say, hey, do you think the company you're looking for is in CrunchBase? And oftentimes the answer is yes, but sometimes the answer is no. I like to remove that barrier. So one of the challenges we have is how do we go and expand the breadth of the data? A lot of companies will talk about how many hundreds of thousands or millions of companies they have on their data set, but the reality is you need to have a level of quality that is up to our standards before we consider it acceptable to import into our system. So we want a large number of companies that have that high quality bar and not have the user have to figure out what's in there. Is Alaska Airlines in CrunchBase? Yes. Weird. And we don't want that to be an expectation. We just want every company to be there.
So how do you get every company in there?
Yeah, sure. So we have a series of partnerships that we're thinking about. We're improving our machine learning and all that side. But on the partner side, that lets us go wide and deep. So we actually just today, we're announcing that we've formed some great partnerships. The data isn't in CrunchBase yet, but we're getting it in there. Companies like Apptopia, companies like Enigma, SimilarWeb, even Glassdoor and Product Hunt, all these different data sets, we're going to go and bring in huge amounts of their data into our system and allow you to analyze it along with all the other data sets. So really trying to get people thinking about CrunchBase as the master record on the internet for companies. We think part of that story is let's become a channel and bring all these different data sets into one place.
So is the idea to become the LinkedIn of company? Do you want to be like a LinkedIn killer? Or?
I mean, I think that's cool. I think LinkedIn for people is really cool. LinkedIn for people is LinkedIn.
Right.
If we could become the LinkedIn for companies or the Facebook for companies and help companies connect with one another, I think is a really interesting challenge that can take us into the long term.
What does that long term look like? So 5 years from now, what is the CrunchBase product look like? What's on offer?
Sure. I mean, I think if you think about every company should be in CrunchBase at that point. We're going to focus on having companies care more and more about what their profile looks like. We're always going to have that community aspect, but allowing companies to go and put on applications, if you will, put in parts of CrunchBase that allow users to access different parts. Like imagine if there was a press release section that a company is controlling, or a RFP section that maybe only certain types of companies can have access to. Those are ways that companies connect with other companies, and you need to have a whole lot of users using your stuff before you can start rolling those sorts of features out, because adoption becomes so critical.
One question that I got that I would love to hear the answer to as well. When are y'all going to do mobile apps?
Okay, great. Well, 3 weeks ago, we launched our mobile iOS app. So if you have not tried out our mobile iOS app.
Did you plant someone to ask?
I know, that's a great question, CrunchBase employee. Thank you. So a lot of people don't know, we did launch it. And that sort of shows that we continue to iterate on the free stuff as well, right?
Yeah.
So that's available for everyone. There's no login, just download it. You can navigate our entire graph. We have a new version that's going to go out as soon as the Apple Store releases it. So you'll be able to do peek and pop and all sorts of cool stuff coming soon. Then CrunchBase Pro will probably have a mobile version of that in the next few months.
Yeah. Now, CrunchBase tracks a lot of companies, almost every company that raises money.
Yeah.
When is CrunchBase going to be on CrunchBase again?
Well, we're on CrunchBase now. I think you're asking when are we going to raise?
Yeah, for another.
Right now we're not in a position where we really need to raise. So it's more of let's just find the best partners who can sort of see our vision and get excited about our vision with us. And when I meet those people and I have those conversations, we might raise them. But there's no real pressure right now.
Among the features that you have on CrunchBase, there's a lot of stuff about who's raised what, who's And again, not to be a killjoy, but I am a killjoy.
Do it.
I want to know about companies that have shut down
Sure.
because we're in a bursting bubble right now. It's collapsing, right?
Yeah.
So, or at least some people say so. So can you give me a list of the companies that have closed in the last month,
Yeah,
like
for
right
sure.
now?
Yeah. Oh, literally right
Well,
now.
I mean, I don't know.
All right.
How much time do we
Let
have?
me,
Nah, we only have 30 seconds. We'll wrap it up.
I can
We'll
do
keep it secret.
All right, we'll do a secret. The short answer is yes. Like, so there's a bunch of feature lists on CrunchBase right now.
Right.
Anyone can go and check them out. One of the ones we thought about doing that we didn't do,
Please do it.
was
bring it
like
back.
the F company list.
Yeah,
It's easy to do. You would look for companies that have closed in the last 90 days, maybe sort it by funding raised, and you'd see some interesting stuff.
Cool. And on that Debbie Downer of a note, I think we're done. Thank y'all so much for listening, and thank
Awesome.
you, Jagger, for being here.
Awesome.
Appreciate
Thanks a lot. Take care.
it. Yeah. You good?
All right.